It had been a long time since I last saw her. Years had passed, but the memories of our childhood together were still fresh in my mind. I remember the sound of her laughter, the way her brown eyes sparkled when she smiled, and the way we used to play for hours in the big park near our homes. Her name was Emily, and we were best friends. We spent almost every day together, playing games, exploring the woods, and sharing secrets. But one day, everything changed. Emily's family moved to another city, far away. We promised we would stay in touch, but as time passed, we lost contact. It was painful, but we both had to move on with our lives. Years went by. I grew older, went to college, and started working at a local office. Emily, on the other hand, had disappeared from my life completely. I never heard from her again, and I often wondered what she was doing, if she was happy. Still, I didn't have the courage to reach out. I was afraid of disturbing the life she had made for herself. One day, as I was scrolling through social media on my phone, something caught my attention. It was a picture of a woman I didn't recognize, but there was something about her that felt so familiar. She had long, dark hair and a smile that reminded me of someone I used to know. I clicked on the profile, and my heart skipped a beat. It was Emily. I couldn't believe it. After all these years, she was still out there. I hadn't seen her since we were kids, but now she was back in my life, in a way. I felt nervous and excited at the same time. What should I do? Should I message her? Would she even remember me? After a few minutes of thinking, I decided to send her a message. I didn't know what to say at first, but I wrote something simple. "Hey, Emily, it has been a long time. I saw your photo online and thought I should say hi. How have you been?" I sent the message and waited, my heart racing. I wasn't sure what to expect, but after what felt like forever, I saw the notification. She had replied, "Hey! Wow, I can't believe it's you. I remember you. How are you? I've been thinking about you lately." I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. She remembered me. She still cared. We began chatting, catching up on everything that had happened in our lives over the past several years. We both had so many things to share. It was as if no time had passed at all. After a few weeks of messages, we decided to meet. Emily was coming to town for a short visit, and she suggested we meet at the same park where we used to play when we were children. The thought of it made my heart race. I was excited, nervous, and anxious all at once. What would it be like to see her again, to be with her after all this time? The day of our meeting arrived. I stood by the old oak tree where we used to sit and talk for hours. It had been many years since I had been there, but the place felt the same. The air was fresh, and the sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a warm glow over the park. I was waiting for her, and my heart was pounding. Finally, I saw her. She was walking toward me, her dark hair flowing in the wind. She looked different, of course, more mature, more confident, but she still had that same smile that made my heart melt. "Alex?" she said softly, her voice shaking just a little. I smiled, my nerves fading away. "Emily," I replied, my voice almost a whisper. She stopped in front of me, and for a moment, we just stood there, staring at each other, unsure of what to say. But then, without warning, she stepped forward and hugged me. It was as if no time had passed at all, and we were still the same two kids who used to play together. "I've missed you so much," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "I've missed you too," I replied, holding her tightly. "I never thought I'd see you again." We spent the afternoon walking around the park, talking about everything that had happened in our lives. It felt so natural, so easy to be with her again. There was no awkwardness, no distance between us. We laughed, reminisced about the past, and shared our dreams for the future. As the sun began to set, we sat on the same bench where we used to sit when we were younger. It felt like nothing had changed, but at the same time, everything had changed. I looked at her, and for the first time in years, I realized how beautiful she had become. I couldn't stop looking at her. Emily! I started, my voice trembling. I know this may sound strange, but I feel like we're more than just friends. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel something different. She looked at me, her eyes wide. She seemed to be thinking about what I said. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but clear. I feel the same way, Alex. I've been feeling it too, but I didn't know if I should say anything. We sat there in silence for a few moments, the air thick with unspoken feelings. It was as if something had changed between us, something we both couldn't ignore. I had always cared about her, but now, after seeing her again, I realized that my feelings for her had grown into something much stronger. I wanted to be with her, more than anything, but as much as I wanted to kiss her, to tell her how I truly felt, I couldn't. There was something holding me back, something I couldn't explain. Maybe it was fear of ruining what we had, or maybe it was just the weight of our shared history. As we said goodbye that evening, I promised to see her again soon. But deep down, I knew that our lives were about to change in ways we couldn't even imagine. The following weeks were a blur of emotions. Emily and I spent more time together than I had ever expected. We met almost every day, talking, laughing, and getting to know each other again. Each time I saw her, my feelings for her grew stronger. It was hard to believe how much time had passed and how quickly we had reconnected. It felt like we had never been apart. But despite the joy I felt, something inside me nagged at me. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more, something deeper, that neither of us had yet acknowledged. It was as if we were both tiptoeing around something we didn't understand, unsure of how to confront it. One evening, after a long walk through the park, we decided to stop at a small cafe near my apartment. It was quiet, peaceful, with soft music playing in the background. We sat at a corner table, sipping our drinks and talking about everything, but still not addressing the unspoken tension that seemed to hang in the air. Alex, Emily said suddenly, her voice softer than usual. There's something I need to tell you. I looked at her, my heart racing. I had no idea what she was going to say, but I knew it was important. What is it? I asked, leaning in closer. She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. I don't know how to say this, but I've been doing some thinking. About us. I felt my chest tighten. Was she going to say what I was afraid of? That she didn't feel the same way? That we should go back to being just friends? She continued, her voice trembling. I've been feeling something I didn't understand at first. But now I realize what it is. She paused, her eyes locking with mine. Alex, I think I'm falling in love with you. The words hit me like a wave. My heart skipped a beat, and I felt a rush of warmth fill me. I had never been more relieved and excited at the same time. She felt the same way. After all these years, after all the distance, she still cared about me like I cared about her. I feel the same way, I whispered. I've been trying to figure it out too, but I didn't know how to say it. We both smiled, a mixture of relief and joy in our eyes. The weight that had been hanging between us was finally lifted. We were both on the same page, both wanting the same thing. We talked for hours, sharing our hopes and dreams for the future, imagining what our life together could be like. But even in my happiness, there was a nagging feeling at the back of my mind. It was hard to ignore. Was this really the right thing? Could we really move forward without knowing everything about each other? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my mind, thinking about Emily, about us, and about how our connection felt so natural, so right. But the more I thought about it, the more something felt off. It was as if there was something I was missing, some piece of the puzzle that I hadn't yet found. The next day, I decided to visit my mom. I had to talk to her about everything, about Emily, about my feelings, and about the strange, unsettling thought that kept creeping into my mind. I didn't know why, but I needed her advice. Maybe she could help me make sense of it all. When I walked into her house, I found her sitting in the kitchen, sipping coffee. She smiled warmly when she saw me. "Alex, it's good to see you, honey. How's everything going?" she asked, pulling out a chair for me. I sat down, taking a deep breath. "Actually, Mom, there's something I need to talk to you about. It's about Emily." Her expression softened as she listened, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Emily? Your old friend? I thought you two had lost touch." "We reconnected," I said, my voice a little shaky. "We've been spending a lot of time together lately. And I think I'm in love with her." My mom raised her eyebrows but didn't say anything at first. She just nodded. "I see," she said slowly. "Well, I'm happy for you. You've always had a special connection with her." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "Yeah, I know. But, Mom, there's something I need to ask you. When Emily and I were younger, did you ever know anything about her family? Anything unusual?" She looked at me for a moment, her face unreadable. Then, after a long pause, she sighed. "I think it's time you knew the truth." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. The truth? What truth? What was she talking about? My mom put her coffee down and looked at me, her eyes filled with sadness. "Alex, there's something I should have told you a long time ago. Something I never wanted to say, but it's important now." I leaned forward, my heart pounding. "What is it, Mom?" She hesitated, as if searching for the right words. Then, with a heavy sigh, she spoke. "Alex, your father, and Emily's mother, they had an affair many years ago. They kept it a secret, but it's the truth. You and Emily, you're not just friends. You're siblings." The words hit me like a thunderclap. I couldn't breathe. My mind was spinning, trying to process what she had just said. "What? What do you mean? That can't be true." But my mom didn't back down. "It's true, Alex. Your father and Emily's mother were involved with each other before they met your father's wife, before Emily's mother married her husband. You and Emily, you're half-brother and half-sister." I felt the world tilt beneath me. Everything I had thought I knew, everything I had believed, was shattering into pieces. Emily, my Emily, was my sister? How could that be? How could this be happening? The room began to feel smaller, the air thicker. I couldn't think, couldn't process. It was like everything was happening too fast, too unreal. "Oh, Alex, I never wanted you to find out this way," my mom continued, her voice filled with regret. "But you need to know the truth. It's not something we can ignore. You and Emily, you can't be together." I felt like I was drowning. The person I had loved, the person I had dreamed about for so long, was my sister? The words echoed in my mind, repeating over and over again, but they made no sense. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to feel.